Hey everyone, welcome back. In this episode, I think you kinda have a glimpse already what we're gonna be doing, but I'm gonna show you how to do a quite simple thing which you just can't do without if you're actually prototyping. And by that I mean pop-ups, lightboxes, toast, snack bars as per Google's material design, all those different messages, extra contextual information requiring fields, modals, and things of that nature, how to actually do it in Axure. And it's quite simple. As you can see, what we're gonna do is try to animate in this toast notification, so show you exactly how to fade in and fade out a specific panel, as well as show you how to do a tooltip, which let's say on mouse over appears like a custom message. And lastly, I'm gonna show you how to do a lightbox like this, or like a modal, which basically appears when a user clicks on, let's say, a button, and it maybe flies in, fades in, and kind of appears automated with, let's say, a background which is shaded. So as per usual, I'm just gonna create a dynamic panel for each of these elements. So this is our modal, let's say. And I'm just gonna hide it right away because it's gonna appear later. Same as for the tooltip. As you can see, I have 3 objects. I'm gonna create another dynamic panel and just kind of enclose it in one bunch, and I'm gonna call it tooltip 1, just in case we want to add more than one. And lastly, I'm just gonna do this toast looking toast thing, or a snack bar in Google. It depends how you use it, and you can use whatever language you want. I'm just gonna call it toast. And you might want to use when, let's say, users save the details or do something quick, and something behind the scenes got saved by the actual product or an app, and you just want to notify the user so they know exactly that something changed. So let's call it toast, and I'm gonna hide it as well. Now, all of these are positioned in random spots. It doesn't really matter where you position them, but it would be good to position where they should appear on a page. Otherwise, you would have to add additional condition and just say, move this bit to that location, which you probably know how to do it if you refer to animation videos I made before. But I'm just gonna place, let's say, this modal in the center, maybe a toast bar somewhere here, because I want to place a couple of buttons next to it. And then the tooltip is quite easy. So let me just add a couple of buttons. So let's say this one is gonna activate a toast. So let's say let's call it save or update details, so that it's clear what's this button is about. Let me round it a little bit so it's more consistent with our overall look and feel, and make text a little bit tinier, maybe a bit more even. Like so it's round, pill-shaped. And I'm just gonna align it with a headline, and maybe take a color of our drop, and as well as I'm gonna have another button, but this time I'm gonna use a different shade. I'm gonna say add, maybe like, let's call it add details or something like that. And I'm just gonna make it gray, so it's a secondary call to action element. Easy as that. Let's do it like so. You can play around again with the look and feel of it if you feel like you should do it. But I'm just gonna say on click, let's sort out the toast first. On click, I'm gonna probably just show or hide. You could also toggle it if you want to. I'm gonna select our toast. As you can see, there is a toggle option. I'm just gonna show it manually, and just maybe, I don't know, maybe let's fade in, or we can bounce it in, flip it in, slide it in. It's up to you, but I'm just gonna fade it in let's say 400 ms. I'm just gonna bring it to front so it overlaps everything else and it always appears on top, like so. And then I'm gonna wait for, let's say, a second or two, so the users can actually see it. Let's say 2 seconds. Again, test it. The timings are always, you can't really predict how it's gonna look like, so it's best to test. And then I'm gonna hide it as well, and just fade it out in maybe quicker, like so. And let's preview it. Quick and snappy. Clicking, toast appeared, and then disappeared. It was a bit too quick, so I can just increase maybe the time it should be. Again, refer to, let's say if it's material design you're prototyping, refer to the guidelines of what they recommend you to do. I'm just doing on my own what feels a bit natural. I'm gonna fade it in slower, like so. And maybe even adding delay could do. You would want to change the button, so maybe add a different button with like a progress or something, you know, like or tick, so it's more clear to the user. And as you can see, the toast appears every time you update the details. You can undo maybe even. It's up to you, but as you can see, it works. Now you also might want to, let's say, maybe put it in a corner like so. I just noticed that that could be a good idea. And just in style, just say pin to browser, vertically pin it to top, horizontally pin it to right, and keep it in front, and that's where it's gonna be. So what I mean by that is if I update it and I scroll down, it's always present, as you can see, because it's pinned to browser. So it feels much more natural, much more like, let's say, material design toasty, right? So that's pretty good. Now next what I want to do is probably sort out tooltip. So the tooltip is quite easy to do. You probably already know how to show or hide different dynamic panels. So what I would go about and do is I would just say new interaction, and let's say on mouse enter on that object on the tooltip icon, I would just say show, and our tooltip dynamic panel is already pre-made. And I would probably not fade in, I would just show it automatically. Because the users wouldn't want probably to wait for their information. If they're already mouse overing the tooltip, you can presume that they want information like that. So I'm just gonna show it right away, and I'm gonna add another interaction saying on mouse out, and I'm just gonna hide it as well. So the tooltip, hide, and I'm gonna fade it. And I'm probably gonna fade it in 200, let's say, or so. So it's a bit more natural. Let's test it out again. You never know how it's gonna look like in practice. Boom, boom. As you can see, it's a bit misplaced, but it works. It works pretty well. And it's quite smooth fading out as well. So it's not too jagged. So I'm just gonna lower it a little bit. Maybe toggle it back so you know exactly where it appears, like so maybe. And let me preview again. Boom. Pretty good. Now, last bit, which you would want to do, is this lightbox. So that's how our modal looks like at the moment. As you can see, it's visible. I'm just gonna hide it again. And once the user clicks on add details button, like so, I'm just gonna do on click and show hide again, this really powerful action. And I'm just gonna select the modal. And this is where it's quite interesting, because you can, you can use the animations and just maybe slide down or slide up. I like to, let's say, either fade it or slide down, but let's do it slide up for this case, just to show how it works. And of course the timing, so you would want to maybe 400. And you can also select if you want it to bounce in, swing in, all these effects are available for you to animate with. So I'm gonna just bounce for the sake of it. Now, important bit is to bring it to front, because if you're gonna add more objects on top, they're just gonna overlap and it's gonna look broken. So every modal, every pop-up should always be on top so it doesn't appear under. So it's good to choose this option. And then in this drop down, you can select that you want to treat it as a lightbox or a flyout or push widget. I usually go with a lightbox. Because then you can select the background color. Of course, if you don't select, maybe your modals are just with a real thick shadow, you don't need any background underneath, that's fine. But if you do select, you can select, let's pick maybe blue, like so it's a bit on brand. And we can select to be it opacity, maybe 60% or so. And now it's automatically gonna apply that style. And just to show exactly what I mean, gonna click on add details, and boom, it automatically appears as a lightbox, as you can see. It's pretty cool. I probably would play with that shadow because it's too glowy at the moment. I would need to probably remove it. As you can see, nothing works here, so you would also want to add a close action. So how I would do that, I would just assign on click, and let me really quickly show instead of telling you. So I would say on click, just hide the modal, and everything else is gonna just be taken care of. So you don't have to, let's say, remove a background or stuff, just hide it. And I'm gonna slide it down so it's a bit more consistent, like so, 200 maybe. And I'm just gonna leave it linear for now. And let me really quickly remove that harsh shadow. We don't really need it. Boom. And quickly as that, you have a fully working modal, which you can then work with. It bounces in, as you can see, it's a bit jagged, and then it slides down. So it works. Again, play around with the styling, how you want to adjust it. There's so much you can do with it, but these are the basics. So you have a toast notification, you have a tooltip, and then you have this lightbox, which at the moment is a bit too bouncy, but I'll leave it to you. As always, thanks a lot for watching this. I hope it's useful. If so, leave a like, subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so, and I'll see you next time.